So look, okay, we're going to do this interview now with lovely Kelly Thompson, and so I'm going to bring her on to the screen now. Welcome, Kelly. Are you there? Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, I'm here.
Kelly, thanks for doing this. I know it's hard. It's not the same when we're, in person together and I can give you a big hug and stuff. But let's do this because it's really so important that people hear what happened to your beautiful, beautiful daughter. So I'm going to take you right back because you were very young, weren't you? Only 24, 23 when you got pregnant. Um, did you, when you were pregnant, did you at any point talk to anybody about vaccinations? Was that even something on your mind?
Yes, it was actually. SIDS happened to be one of my biggest fears, and I kind of chalked it up to maybe being a first time mother and that was normal. And I think even the people around me felt the same way. They're like, oh, it's kind of normal. Everybody worries about that because we love them so much. And so I distinctly remember talking to the pediatrician about the safety of vaccines. And of course, they said the same thing that they say to everybody: they're safe and effective, and even give you the same spiel that they give everyone. Why wouldn't you want to vaccinate against preventable disease? And you don't want them to get sick and die, and the
Bullying.
whole gamut that they run.
Yeah, but
So,
bullying, it's awful.
yeah.
And so,
So,
did you have any vaccinations when you were pregnant?
honestly, don't remember, but I was very pro-vax at the time. I feel like if I did it, pretty much everything that they had always told me to do, took every medication they told me to take, all the vaccines. I'd been fully vaxxed to that point, so I can't imagine why not.
And what was your pregnancy like? Did you have a good pregnancy?
It was pretty normal. Towards the end, I can't remember the name of it. It's PPPD. So it's a little like a pregnancy rash that you end up with on your belly, and it was awful. And it was really thick and raised, and it itched so bad. I was so miserable. And it luckily for me went away before I gave birth, because a lot of times I guess it goes away after birth. But um, they just said it's one of those rare things that happens sometimes, and there was no answer for it.
And so what was the birth like in the
Birth
hospital?
was super easy. I mean, I was in labor for about 24 hours, but I mean, that can be expected for the first time. There was no complications. She came out really easily. So nothing out of the ordinary there. And then she was born, and gave her the vitamin K shot, everything they recommended. I did, it was seemingly uneventful. I guess you could say she was perfect health, nothing to raise any red flags.
And I presume they gave her hepatitis B at birth as well.
100%.
Yeah. All right. So
Yep.
so describe your daughter because you only had 3 months with your beautiful girl. So describe her for us, please.
She was just very bright and wise beyond her years. She would laugh and play and very engaging and just perfect. I mean, especially as a first time parent, she was everything you could have hoped for in a baby. She really didn't cry much. She was perfect.
Beautiful,
She was perfect.
beautiful girl. And so you then went for your 2 months shots. What did the doctors say to you, the pediatricians, when you went in, or were you just compliant and there was no conversation?
So I actually went in about 2 weeks late for my 2 month shots, for her 2 month shots, because I always had it in my mind. I was so scared of SIDS. We even had the SIDS monitor and everything in her crib and everything. I was hesitant and I was scared to take her in because I just didn't want to. But I remember hearing the voice, or the doctor's voice in my mind, you don't want something to happen. I was scared. I was already scared of the SIDS and losing her, but I was more scared. I didn't know that was connected either, at the time. And I ultimately ended up taking her in 2 weeks later, and um, I don't remember exactly what she got, but she got everything that was scheduled at the time on the vaccine schedule in 2007, and went home. And again, seemingly uneventful. I do remember that, like most children, or a lot of children, after she got her vaccine, she would always be fussy, sore at the site of injection, raised bump, fussy.
Tylenol.
But,
Did
you
you give her
know,
Tylenol?
Absolutely. And now
Mm.
knowing what I know about that too was completely devastating because it just depletes the body of glutathione, your master antioxidant, and escorts the heavy metals right over the blood brain barrier. And if I had it to do again, of course I wouldn't do that. But yeah, I followed all the directions of the doctors at the time and thought I was doing everything right. There was absolutely really no warning. And then one night, I do remember it was a couple of weeks before she passed away. Like I said, that she had the SIDS monitor in her crib. It went off and sent me into a tizzy because I had already been in bed. We were both asleep, and I had a terrible anxiety attack. I thought it malfunctioned. I did take it out. We stopped using it because I thought it was broken. Now looking back, I know that it actually caught her. And but other than that, there was no warning leading up, nothing.
So she had her 3 months then. Did you say she passed at 3 months? So wait, she had two months and that was her last slot. And she passed
Right.
at
It
three
was
months.
2.5 months that she ended up getting them, but it was a 2 months vaccines, and she was 3 months
That's
and
right.
3 days when she passed.
Sorry. All right. So if you can you talk us through what happened when she passed?
Sure. I was staying over at a friend's house. Uh, Long story short on that, but I woke up, and she had been sleeping next to me in the bed, but I always had a barrier, kind of like the little blanket barrier around her. So I made sure I didn't roll over on her and not suffocate her. But either way, there was a barrier. And I looked out the window immediately as I woke up and I saw that the sun was up. And immediately my brain knew that she missed a feeding. And within however long it took me to see the sunshine and look down at her, knew what had happened. And I saw her, and she was cold to touch, and she was blue. And all I could do was jump back off the bed and scream no over and over and over again. And the friend's house that I was staying at came barreling down the stairs. And he came in and he checked her and tried to do CPR on her. And I remember years looking back after that. I went to school to be a paramedic, and it messed me up for years that my first reaction wasn't to try to do CPR, but obviously in that moment you don't know, you can't think straight. And I knew, she was gone. And everything kind of went into a blur there. My friend called 911. They showed up. I don't really remember exactly how this all went down, but I know that they took me outside screaming no still, because that's all I could say on repeat. I just couldn't function. And I was laying in the fetal position outside in the front yard, and neighbors were coming outside and asking everybody what was going on. And then they started crying, and it was just a mess, a mess. My mom showed up. My friend had called her. She showed up and tried to go in and see Ryann, and they wouldn't let her, of course. So she came over and tried to, well, kind of sat with me, but I mean, there was really not much anybody could do to console me. I was a mess. The fire chaplain came over, tried to console me. He helped as much as he could. I was grateful for him in that moment, because nobody knows how to handle that. Then I don't know how much longer it was, how much later it was. Could have been an hour, could have been 20 minutes, but they wrapped up whatever investigation they felt like they needed to do. They let us come in, my mom and I, for 5 minutes, one more chance to hold her and say goodbye to her. And I held her and I kissed her, and they had to take her away from us. And she was gone. That was it. That was
And
the
the
last time I
police,
saw her until the funeral.
the police then get involved, right?
Yeah, they did. I mean, I don't know exactly what they did outside of, having me go outside. I know that they took all of my stuff that I had. There was a backpack, the blankets that were in the bed. They did tell me that they wanted to make sure, obviously, they had to check for foul play to make sure I didn't suffocate her. They took all my medications that were in my backpack.
At what
I
point did you
mean,
realize it was the vaccinations that had done this, killed your baby?
I think deep down right away, I've always known. My mother's intuition, I've always known that it was the vaccines. That's why after that happened several weeks later, I went and asked the pediatrician again, please tell me, could it have been the vaccines? And he scoffed at me and said, no, there's no way. And I felt really stupid, but I just could never let it go. And then 2020, COVID hit, everything happened. And I was going through some health scares of my own, some serious health scares of my own. And I started doing my own deep dive into that. And when I watched The Truth About Vaccines and Vaxxed, several other things, I just broke. It broke me to watch it because I knew it was vindication. It made me feel like it was not my fault, even though I still had blamed myself all that time for giving it to her. And if nobody could give me an answer, it had to have been my fault. If SIDS is the answer, it's fancy for, it's a fancy acronym for there's no answer. I blamed myself. And then after seeing that, I just knew. I was like, I've known all along. That's why I asked. That's why I was scared. I knew. I just knew.
And your beautiful daughter Ryan's death destroyed you and heartbreak, and so you went back to the doctor. And what did the doctor prescribe you, Kelly?
He could see that I was obviously not okay. I was borderline suicidal. He put me on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications and antipsychotics. Something for everything. It just turned me into a zombie. I had no idea what I was doing. I was staying with my parents at the time and just not functional. And I ended up trying to commit suicide at one point because I was in such a haze and obviously so distraught. I realized as I was fading out and knew I wasn't going to make it that I didn't want to die. And so I called for help, and thank God I was able to receive it in time. It is, vaccines have destroyed every facet of my life. Thankfully, now we're trying to have some good come of it, but it has been a roller coaster.
It seems to me the common denominator here, as always with all of these tragic stories, is the doctors. So the doctor persuaded you that Ryann should have these shots, did not give you informed consent. Then again, the doctor gives you the medications that you become addicted to.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else is feeling this, but it's the medical professionals. They're lies. I don't know how they get away with it.
Yeah.
So I just want to say to our viewers, just to remind you this, Ryann should be 16 years old. She should be now running around being a 16-year-old teenager. She potentially could be an awkward teenager. She could be an amazing teenager. She could be one that'd be calling her mum every 2 seconds with absolutely everything like some girls do. She should be going shopping with her mum. She should be playing with the 2 brothers that she now has. She should be best friends with her mum. I don't think people understand when they say a dead baby, whatever, it's SIDS, whatever. No, you've just taken away a mother's best friend, a future. All the things that a mother and a daughter should be doing together.
This is all I have left of her. The death certificate, a video, a memorial video, pacifiers, blankets, and pictures. That's it. She had her whole life ahead of her.
Yes, well, now look, Kelly, first of all, thank you for telling the story. And it's so important that we because I know you want to warn other young mothers. What would you say to a young mother who's watching this now and she's pregnant and she has no idea, she's listening to the doctors like we all did? What would you say to her?
I know you're scared. I was too. And I listened to them and believed them because I thought they knew better than me. And I wanted to do everything I could to make sure nothing happened to her. And I thought I was doing everything right. The one thing that I would just implore you to do, please, please do your own research. If nothing else than to try to prove us all wrong, please. Because I wish that I could have. You can delay the vaccinations until you do the research, but you can't undo it. You can't undo it. You don't want to be left with just pictures. If all you have standing between you and this is doing research, then please, please just do the research. Please.
Kelly, you are trying to promote her memory, which is fantastic. And tell us what you've set up and what you're doing.
We actually just passed this last October. We opened an apothecary. Like I said, back in 2020, facing my own health scares and everything, amongst doing all the research, found my way back to the old ways, herbs and natural remedies and things like that. And me and my husband, my family, we started an apothecary in her name, Ryan's Hope Apothecary. And we just hope to carry on her legacy, her memory, and help people learn that there are other ways just as effective and even better than the big pharma medications that they're pushing. And a lot of these remedies don't have side effects or have minimal. Again, it's worth doing your own research on. It really is.
It is. And now, so what I'm going to do is put Ryan's photograph, with your permission, on the bus inside with the other babies, and
Sure.
sign her name for you, unless we're going to see you. I don't know if we are, but I'll communicate with you on that, because this is tragic and it has to stop. And Kelly, I'm so proud of you for coming on Good Morning CHD. It's not easy telling the story. Is there anything else you want to tell the people?
We're not all crazy. We're not just people that are running around with some insane message. We would rather be doing anything but this. Please just do the research. Please listen to people's stories. Please just have an open mind. It could be the difference between life and death for anyone that you know.
So Kelly, we're never gonna forget Ryan, and she will be on the bus, photograph, and we will keep that memory going forward. But thank you, much love to you, and I know our viewers will be showering you in love right now. So just know that you're loved, okay? And thank you so much for telling us your story and warning other parents. We really appreciate you.
I really appreciate the opportunity to tell her story. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kelly. All right, to our viewers now, what's it going to take? I don't know what to say. I mean, how many more stories do we have to do? How many more dead babies, dead teenagers, toddlers, adults? Well, I don't know what it's going to take. How many buses? But still, we collectively stand up together and we tell our stories. So that will carry on. So for now, I'm going to hand you over to Dr. Tony O'Donnell,